This is the newest camera I own. This is the Canon Vixia HF R800. It's one of the cheapest HD cameras you can get. They have some interesting features, in which one of them happens to be a high-speed camera. Might have a little bit of fun with that, but it didn't seem to like filming in that too much. This camera does not have an auto shutter, which can be annoying to those of you who won't remember to open or close it. I prefer to have this camera set to where when you open it, it doesn't turn on, but I have it set like that right now. This battery pack on the back is kind of ugly, and I don't like that the resume resets, and the microphone in it could be better, but that's going to be the mainstay of my channel, other than my dash cam. And since this is the camera I'm going to be filming the rest of this on, I'm using the Vivitar 783 action cam. And I'm not using the 786 because it actually has its own set of problems that I'll talk about here in a little bit. But on to DSLRs. This is the Kodak EasyShare ZD710. This is an ancient camera, but you can recognize that it looks like a higher end DSLR camera that you take high quality pictures with. And this actually does take pretty good pictures still to this day, despite 7.1 megapixels, and it has to do with the lens in it mostly. But everything about this is really dated. I mean, for taking pictures, it's fine. For shooting video, it's not very good. It only shoots in 4:3, which we all know that it's all 16:9 now. Should actually start doing it in like 21:9. I don't know, but it's old school, in which the shutter, the light, still opens. But this has image stabilization, and there's an interesting thing I found about this when I was doing some filming when I was testing out the film that it can take, is that it sits there and it does kind of like what this camera does, but it sits there and it tries to follow you in a way that'll make you motion sick, which is kind of funny. But for taking pictures, something like this is great. For taking video, this thing's way too old, doesn't film in HD, doesn't really film that great at video. But that's okay. For taking pictures, it's just fine, but it's not my standard camera that I would sit and take pictures with, because I have one that's slightly newer and slightly better at it. That being said, this one can take pretty decent pictures. They're just a little soft. I don't like that too much. But it does take an SD card. It's a handy bit of information. And now for my bread and butter when it comes to DSLRs. My Samsung S730. One of the very few Samsung products I own. I'm not a very big person on Samsung products, in which my phone's an LG, and almost all my electronics of that nature are LG, or really cheap. But this camera, since I got it, never worked right. It's only an 7.2 megapixel. And if you ever see any pictures taken on the channel that are taken by me, not just some stock footage that I found on Google in 30 seconds, it's going to be taken with this camera. I've had this camera ever since it was new. Got it in 2006. That's how old it is. But it can film in 16:9 ratio. It does okay. The microphone in it sucks. I do actually have a video that I've taken with this camera up on my channel, up close to a windmill, stuttering again. But this is my bread and butter when it comes to DSLRs, and no, it doesn't film in high definition. But that's okay, because for taking pictures, this one's great. But a little cheap camera like this can actually film pretty good when it comes to doing, like, maybe YouTube videos or anything, but the built-in microphones on these are usually the worst. So I'd recommend getting a recorder or something, because if you got a good video editor, you can sync up the audio pretty easily, because the waveforms will follow each other, and it becomes really easy to sync up audio. And in my previous video, that was how I got the transition perfectly from this camera to the Sony Handycam. But this whole video is about ideas. Now onto the action cameras. This is my favorite action camera that I have. It's the Vivitar 783 HD. It doesn't have the greatest video quality. Doesn't even take the best video, really. I mean, I had an issue before when I had it in my car that it had a
lens reflection issue where it made like a little orange reflections going in between me and the camera, which I didn't really like that much. But this camera is unbelievably user-friendly. I mean, it has a slider to go between it and taking pictures, but this thing really takes pretty bad pictures. But what can you really expect? I started out this video with this camera, and I really like this thing. I only paid $30 for it. I bought it at Walmart. Same place I bought the other one that I'm going to show you here in a minute. But one of my favorite things about this is they come with a little handlebar mount, which you can mount to really anything that's circular. And it's got this. It's a really cheap solution for a mount, but you can mount it either way in it. So where I had it in my car, it was mounted upside down in the passenger side, so it could sit there and it could film me just fine. The other one I had to be a little bit creative with mounting it because of the tripod. Well, not the tripod mount, but here's a quick tip: is any screw that goes into the bottom of most cameras is a 1/4-20 screw. That's just a quick fact for you in there. And just the mount that it came with, which is the exact same mount that the other one came with, is actually really a convenient mount. If I could find a way to mount this Canon on there, I'd rather use it in the car, but for the time being, I think I'm going to stick with this, because there's a problem with the 786. Mine might be faulty, but if somebody else finds a similar issue to it when I show that, I would like to hear in the comments, because this is the one I'm going to use from now on. The other one, pretty good camera, not $20 better camera. Here's the Vivitar 786 HD. It is a 1080 action camera, which I will say actually does film pretty decently if it's outdoors. I didn't do that. I tested it in a garage. But this camera, for me, has quite a few issues. One of them I could demonstrate to you pretty easily here, and it has to do with a build quality issue, but at the end of the day, I did pay $50 for it, for a tiny little crappy camera, which would have to be, hey, you can see it pretty good right there. The screen isn't even straight, the damn thing, which is a build quality issue. The little hole in the bottom of it is not deep enough to mount on most tripods, which is part of the reason why I didn't use it to film the first part of this. And the other thing is that it came with this little remote thing, which is a great idea. I really like this idea. It's a little wristwatch thing, but it also has an issue. Look, the power button's in the center. Nothing. I mean, and it won't turn it on. I'm pretty sure it'll turn it off. And look, it's on. I guess this just doesn't work anymore, so that just goes to another point against the build quality of this thing. Sorry for getting a little up on the camera right there. And the other biggest issue, and you wouldn't have noticed it in the recording when I did, which was the now it transitions and effort. This thing only records on one channel audio, so you're only going to hear sound out of one speaker. I don't know if this one's defective in that, but this only records in one channel, and it records really quietly. And in fact, when I was doing the recording, I had to crank the volume up just so you could hear what I was saying. I had to duplicate the channels, and this thing's just been a pain in the ass to work with. And it's why I'm probably not going to use it for any of the in-car filming. I'm going to use it in the future, but the other one was $30. This one's $50. I don't know if it's still like that. I got it on sale, but it's not $20 more camera, which is unfortunate because I was really hoping it would be better. I mean, you might be asking me, why don't I just go get a GoPro? And it's because I can buy probably 5 of the 783s for this price of a GoPro, so if you're really wondering, that's the reason why. And I'm not really been a big fan of GoPros. I've seen my fair share of issues with them, in which my buddy had his break on him a couple of times. And that's an expensive piece of equipment to have failing on you when you're trying to do a lot of filming. I mean, I might get one in the future, or I might get one of the various clones, but this thing, I might shelve it, which is unfortunate. Now, I filmed most of this in order of what type of camera they were, and I saved this one for last. This is my Sony Handycam. It's the DCR SX45. It has an insanely good zoom, excellent microphone, the worst video quality out of all the cameras I just showed you. But it's still my favorite camera. It has the right profile, it feels well made. I just wish the brand new Handycams were like this. But instead they opted for internal battery for the ones you can get in the store, which is why I didn't buy one. The little screen when you open it up small, I love that sound. The little screen when you open it up is way smaller. But this one has an auto shutter, which I like. But this camera might be one of the oldest cameras I have. Why that is, I have no idea. I have no idea how old this is. I bought this used from somebody off the internet. But despite its shortcomings, I really like this camera. But when I say it has an insane zoom, it has a 70 times zoom, a mechanical zoom. And then it can even zoom in even further than that digitally. I mean, you can't really make out anything when you do that, but that's not the point. This is by far my favorite camera that I own. I just wish that it had better video quality so I could make more videos for the channel. But also another reason why I would have been testing a lot of these old cameras or subpar cameras is because I was trying to film a different intro video for like my dash cam videos, which is lacking one. I actually filmed an intro video for my informative video series, which I don't know if this is well, it is informative. But I'm also trying to give some ideas, maybe have some stuff laying around. But the idea was to film an intro video for my dash cam videos that had kind of an older look to it, an older, softer look to it. And I'm probably just going to end up using the Canon and putting a filter over it, but I was trying to avoid doing that. I might not do that. I might film it several times with all the cameras. Who knows? I have no idea. I'm making this up as I go. I really am. Alright, then just to do a quick wrap-up shot, I wanted to say one more thing that I probably should have mentioned. And it has to do with the fact that you might be wondering, why didn't I film the first part of this when I was shooting the Canon that I'm filming on right now with like a smartphone? I'm one of the very few Americans that probably does not own a smartphone, and there's a reason for that. I just can't stand being constantly connected to everything. I would actually rather be away from everything like that, not necessarily having all of that like permeating in my life. And the reason why I'm actually going to film this last bit before I show you the video quality of all the other cameras is because, well, this is where I filmed all the other videos of all the cameras, is because I actually have a really bright light up there. It highlights me. Hopefully the background isn't too distracting to you, as we're going to wrap this up in the Spastastic Garage of Madness. So here's the video quality from worst to best, and I hope you've enjoyed this video so far. Stay tuned after the outro video because I'm going to put some extras in there for you to enjoy. Now we all remember this. This is the Sony Handycam SX something or other. It's old. This is a video test of my Kodak Easy Share. This is a video test of my Samsung S730.
This is the Vivitar 783 HD.
This is the Vivitar 786 HD. This is the Canon Vixia RF 800. Also, I had another thing that I wanted to do, and it was just to show you a little bit of this making the stuff up as I go. I'm going to flip the screen over here so it's going to look kind of unprofessional, but it's just a little bit of ingenuity on my part, And yeah, I think I got rid of some of the echo in this room. It was just something that my sister left sitting here. I hope she didn't want it. That ugly thing on the wall. That's some quality soundproofing. But this is just part of me making it up as I go. I'm going to clean up this room and repaint these walls because, well, nothing screams quality like... Oh. Nice focus here, camera. There you go. Like, missing the tape lines completely. And, yeah. This is what I'm working with right now.